Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, hit the subscribe, like, comment, all that down below. Now, today's a special podcast. It is, in fact, the start of the season. Football season is back, and so are we. We've had somewhat of a break recently, which we very much enjoyed, but we're so glad that the football is back. We actually managed to miss the pre-season show. So what we decided that we were going to do is that we were going to speak on the events that just happened and then just take that all into account and then go through our predictions for the season ahead. So with that being said, we're going to be discussing all things Erling Haaland, Man City, Liverpool, Fulham, everything from the weekend and more. But first, we'll say hello to Ty, obviously our co-host. My name's Kristian. This is Ty. If you haven't been here before, how are you doing, Ty? You okay?
All right, yeah. I mean, it makes it sound like we've just sort of tossed it off over pre-season.
We
We've
kind
not
of
been,
have.
well, we kind of have, but we have had a proper excuse. I mean, 2 weeks ago, was it last week when I had my wisdom teeth were absolutely killing me, so we had to cancel the podcast then, and then the following one couldn't do it because I was back in dentist. But I have fainted at dentist. I mean, people laugh. I can laugh about it now, but I'm booked on to get them taken out. So being in agony. You've been away, we've had, I think I had COVID as well. So we managed to get a few in, but in between as well, we have been recording World Cup podcast, which we'll release when we get closer to the World Cup in Qatar. Because like Euros, what we did was we looked back sort of 1990 onwards, and from the World for the Championships, it was 96. So we're just going to go from 1990 every sort of 4 years, and we'll release those podcasts, just our sort of ways, how we remember the World Cups. But this podcast today, it's obviously about the Premier League. We sort of purposefully left. I mean, it says we sort of forgot about the preview show, but there was that many preview shows, and I just feel we did it last year as well. I think where we left the preview show and we went the week after. Because I think there's all those predictions you have before. Because for example, I mean, everyone would have thought, oh, Forest going to be amazing. They bought 13 players. You know what I mean? They look class, and they got pretty much smashed at Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? So you look at Man United, oh, got a new manager and all this, and they got
Done
smashed.
so well over pre-season as well.
Yeah, it's like pre-season and preview, and it's like it really starts after the first game of the season, doesn't it? And that's when you get a feel of where everyone's at. So we always think this is a better way of looking at it because we can still do the preview, we still do it, but it gives us a better idea of where teams are at, now that pre-season's over and games actually matter. But yeah, no, I'm doing fine. How are you? How's you and your rebuild of your house?
Yeah, it costs a lot of money. Let's just say that. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that Beating the Press podcast gets a few more than 130 subscribers. So again, press the subscribe button down below and let's get them views up so I can
I
pay for.
have one thing that has happened though. So one of the sort of who I'm sort of working with now. He just had a look. We've not met before, so he's doing his bit of research and found Beating the Press. But I don't think he's subscribed. So if you're watching and listening again, do us a favour and subscribe. But yeah, right. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just kick off because we've got quite a bit to get through. I mean, me and you can just rattle on about our lives forever. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll pass over to you and get us going.
Yeah, so at the beginning of every season, obviously, on Sky Sports you'll have Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, and we'll go through the various predictions through for the rest of the season. So that's effectively what we're going to do, just without all the fancy graphics down the left-hand side, unless Ty fancies doing that afterwards in the editing process. So yeah, so we're obviously going to cover the weekend that's just gone, but I feel like we're going to be covering it throughout these questions. So we're going to start off with the obvious one, and that is champions. Now, obviously, Man City started really impressively against West Ham. Liverpool kind of stuttered a little bit against Fulham, to say the least. And obviously, we've got some potential contenders up and coming. I'm not going to say who they are because obviously that might hinder Ty's predictions. But in a sense, who do you think is going to be the champions this season?
I mean, it's not rocket science. It's between the two, and
is it really?
Yeah, it's pick a team and then go with it. I mean, I actually do think it's so tough. I mean, obviously, you look at the season and the first game of the season, obviously, Man City won, and so already it's 2-point lead. because that's where I look at. I don't really look at other results, and it's like as Liverpool fans, I'm looking at what have Man City done, because that's what it is now. From now till the end of the season, we might have a little bit of a dip here and there. They will have a dip as well, and they'll end up going really close again. I just think with us, I think Man City are actually weaker. This is going to sound strange. I think with them losing Sterling, Jesus, Fernandinho, and Zinchenko, the big losses. I think Sterling's a really, really big loss, because I'm not having Grealish is better than Sterling. Not in a million years, not having it. I thought he was brilliant for Chelsea when he went on Saturday night, wasn't it? I think they will make a big difference when it comes to it. There's also the stuff about Bernardo Silva, because he potentially got to Barcelona. I mean, I don't know. It's a flip. It's such a hard question. I mean, I'd love us to win it. Again, I think we'll be really close, and I think they'll be really close. It's so, if you can ask me, I'll go Liverpool, just because I think what I've seen from Darwin Núñez is giving us a different dimension to our attacking play. We can almost be a bit more direct. I mean, we're direct anyway, but a little bit more direct with him up top. He is. I think you sent me a message on WhatsApp, and I thought it was something. Well, it's like a one-man army, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. And he was very Didier Drogba-esque. There was one instance where he headed it up to himself, and he kind of held off the defender and got his shot off. And I feel like he's very lucky, like Didier Drogba, where things are rattling off his shins, and it just
like a Suarez, isn't he? Like Suarez used to bounce. It's very much you must be a Uruguayan thing, but no, I think as Salah's just started off like he looks, his class. The midfield, I think the three. It was a really bad game to look, because I think we were really, really poor. If we're looking at that and thinking, because that's not really what's going to define the season, is it? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think we'll be really, really close, and I'd obviously love for us to win it. I'm going to go Liverpool.
So I'm going to go City, just for a bit of balance in this podcast, because we can obviously both go Liverpool, with us both being Liverpool fans. I just feel like Thiago, obviously an early injury. You can't replace him. I feel like you can kind of replace the others. I think he's going to be out for around about 6 weeks, which is.
I heard it was 2 weeks. I don't know if that's 6 weeks.
I'm hoping you're right, but if I'm right, at 6 weeks with a hamstring injury, that's approximately 7 games, and it's not an easy start for us. And once Man City kind of get a bit of momentum, even though the notorious slow start is, their fixtures are kind of a little bit kind to them, but I'm not basing it off this weekend. No way, shape or form basing it off this weekend, purely because, I thought West Ham were very poor. You think back to the fixture last year, they really went at it because they kind of had something to fight for in that, they were still, I think they just got knocked out of Europe, and they were trying to get back into Europe. So they went at Man City, and this one I just felt they were so passive, and that the occasion got too much. I thought City were brilliant, mind you, but like you, if they lose Bernardo Silva, that kind of changes things, because I don't think there's too many midfielders in the world like him, especially in the big games, that can return the ball, travel with the ball, and be as aggressive as he is, and the quality that he brings. And like you said there, with Sterling going, Jesus going, their quality and depth is gone by the wayside. So unless they bring in a couple more players, I think they could struggle towards the end of the season. But I think just Man City for champions. So moving on to top four, there's quite a few contenders that could go for it this year. I think there might be a couple of chopping and changing from last year, especially with the Chelsea situation. Arsenal looked quite decent the other night. Again, it's too early to say. They looked good for 20 minutes, I'd say, 20 minutes period, and then they kind of faltered back to the Arsenal way. But your thoughts on top four?
Top two, obviously, Liverpool, City, Spurs. I think Spurs will finish. I think Chelsea, but I think if anyone's going to sort of threaten that top four, it would be Arsenal. The Arsenal game I watched, and everyone's, blowing smoke up their backs. I watched them, and I just thought there's so many similarities to previous seasons. If Eze scores that 1-1 now, any professional footballer should be scoring that. We've both played the game. You're coming in at an angle where you've got the whole side of the goal to aim at. It's not a hard finish, it's a side foot, and he just smashes it straight down. It's one of those where if he scores, You feel the momentum switches, and Palace go on to win it. I don't think Palace played that bad, and I think Arsenal, they played well in moments. I thought Jesus was different class, by the way.
In the
You
first
could tell.
half,
Yeah, I looked at him, I thought, you know what, you can tell he's a Man City player.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, when you come in there and you think, right, you drop him into like a top 6 team, and you can see the lift in quality, the step up in quality. And I just thought, yeah, he looked really good. I don't know, Arsenal, I think, I think the scoreline flatters him. It wasn't a 2-0 game. I thought Palace were quite unlucky. But again, it's the first game of the season. It's hard to say in it. I still think their issue is their central midfield area. They seem to buy these players in different areas that are already comfortable in, and they had enough covered, and now they just I don't get their strategy. I mean, what they're trying to do, get 2 good players in each position, but just sort out your centre midfield. You've still got Xhaka, who again threw out a really stupid yellow card in that game where his dive run through. It's like typical Xhaka that. What your thoughts are different to mine, or?
No. I'm going to go with Tottenham. I think Tottenham will. I think it'll go. Obviously Liverpool by a long way, and then I think it might even go Tottenham by a long way. Not. Yeah. I'm not talking 20 points here. We're talking like 10. I think that's a long way from fourth. And then fourth, I think Chelsea will get that, and then I think Arsenal will miss out again. The reason I think Arsenal miss out again is because of Arteta. I just don't get it. I really still don't get Arteta. People are saying, oh, he's improved and he's brought in better players, but the reality is he couldn't have sunk any further from what he had. I think Wenger finished 6th when he got the sack, or when he left. Emery finished 5th, and then Arteta finished 8th. And then I think it was last season. So, there is an improvement there. They finished 5th. But I just, I think, it's an improvement. But like you said, they've still got a soft underbelly with their central midfield area. While Xhaka's playing, they're not going to finish on the top 4. I thought Zinchenko struggled, which I was surprised about. He didn't quite look right. But again, it's early. But they were impressive for 20-odd minutes. But again, Palace finished strong, and the second half they were quite dominant. You mentioned that chance from Eze. I think there was one in the first half where Ramsdale was pretty much a point blank header at him as well, which they should have done better with. So they did have the chances, Crystal Palace, and I just think Arsenal will fall short, but I do think that they'll finish 5th, if that's any consolation. The next one is overachievers. Now, I'm just going to go first on this one because I was really impressed with Brighton. Brighton. I know it's so easy to say, and it's like just because of the performance at Man United, but my God, they were excellent. I watched that game, and when you think of an innovative manager. He's kind of pushing the boundaries, kind of like Guardiola does, these little ideas here and there. It's been so long since I've seen a manager go 3-5-2 and actually have 3 at the back. Normally you'll have wing backs, you'll have a 5-3-2. He did that in the second half, don't get me wrong, but in the first half it was just 3 at the back, and it was just 2 really wide wingers. And then you had like a holding player, and effectively the defending with 4 players at a time. It was really aggressive, but they just seem to always have numbers in the box. Now, obviously, at times, if they continue that, if they play like a Man City or a Liverpool or I think even a Spurs, they'll get spanked doing that. But for me, it's going to be between Brighton and possibly Newcastle, just by the way that they finished last season, and obviously the way that they were quite impressive against Forest as well.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that about Newcastle. I wouldn't have them as an overachievers. I think they're nailed on for a top 10, maybe top 8 side.
Really?
So I mean, if we can have Newcastle, I think Newcastle, but I wouldn't have them as an overachiever because I think they've got their investment, their recruitment's been top notch.
Bought well, haven't they? Yeah.
Bought really, really well. Bruno Guimaraes is going to be an absolute. I mean, he's a baller anyway, but he's going to really be one of the players of the season. I think. I think Leeds are going to be overachievers. I think, I think Jesse Marsh. I mean, I was going to say Brighton, but you are, because the reason for Brighton was because they've lost a few players, but they lost Cucurella and Bissouma, but yet you couldn't tell the difference. But Leeds, I think, have bought well. I know they've lost 2 players, but their manager's good. I know he's American and he's got that Ted Lasso thing over his head. That's just
hard to get away from it, isn't it?
Yeah. I know, that's just Twitter for you. But this is his first pre-season he's had. he's been a good manager, a top manager at Leipzig before. Do you know what I mean? So if you watch the way they played against us and the way he had his team set up, they're a very front foot, aggressive team. I think he's suited for the Premier League as well. Now that Leeds have got more strength in depth now as well. So you've got midfielders and more defenders, and do you know what I mean? It felt like they were playing academy players all the time. Bamford seems to have started as well, which, I think they could probably do with another striker maybe, but I think that they're fine. He's obviously bought players he can trust, and they all came in and they did fine against Wolves. I know it was a tight game, but Wolves can be a bit like that at times. So I think Leeds I'd probably throw Leeds.
All right. Next, underachievers. Obviously, massive season last year for the likes of Everton. I think we put Everton and Man United down as last year's underachievers when we done the post-season show.
We absolutely nailed it, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And so for this season coming, who have you got as your biggest underachievers?
I think Man United. I think they're going to finish. Yeah, I think Ten Hag. He reminds me a lot of Van Gaal, and I'm feeling like it's going down the same path as well. The whole recruitment thing's bonkers. How can you have a full preseason, and even if Ronaldo was staying, how can you not buy another striker? The fact that he's not, and then you end up with playing Eriksen as a false nine. I mean, Eriksen's a brilliant player, but never is he a false nine. I mean, what you see, when you're changing and you're trying to be, trying to play players in slightly different positions and you're tweaking the formations. You want to be a bit more innovative, as you say. Your team's got to be playing well at the time. You've got to have a good culture, good environment. You can't go into it when the team's all over the place and you're doing all this random stuff. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. So I thought the whole Eriksen thing was, what are you doing? I watched the highlights because obviously I was at a kid's party and you were filming me. And it's just, Gary Neville summed it well. They're the easiest team to play against in the league. I think they need about 5 or 6 new players. They needed a transfer window pretty much like Spurs have had. But, Conte wasn't the Man United manager, would he? So they could win. I just some of the reasoning and excuses by
Man United. They regret that now.
And so I think Man United, what sucks? You're thinking they're going to finish top 6. For them, you'd say they want to be finishing top 6, but I think they could finish outside the top 8, the way they're going at the moment. And I just think so I could see that being the other one, of course, is Everton. Like you said, I don't think they've not recruited great either. Do you know what I mean? You've got, I don't know. I look at them against Chelsea. I'm like, they didn't really look like.
Conor Cody, they've just signed him.
Yeah, he's going to play 3 at the backs. Conor Cody ain't going to change the world, is he, for them, really?
Yeah.
You've got Tarkowski, Conor Cody, and probably Ben Godfrey or Mina when he's fit at the back. That's your 3. Mikolenko on the left and Patterson on the right, and then go mad with you. Yeah, they've lost Richarlison as well. Calvert-Lewin's injured. They're playing Anthony Gordon up front. He's not a striker. Play him as a wide player. I just think you seem to be. They're 2 big clubs as well, them two, and they just, the whole recruitment. That's what it all comes down to nowadays, and it's just poor. It's really, really poor. So I think them 2 again from last season.
Yeah, Everton have just signed. I think it was today. Amadou Onana.
Yeah.
So
I don't know anything about him.
No, me neither. But I've literally got Everton and Man United again. I think it's an easy bet for us to put them down. And again, like you, I've made a note earlier that it's top 7 that finishes in the European places. So obviously, that's thinking that one of the top 4 will win the EFL or the FA Cup. So if you assume that happens, the top 7 will finish. If you put the 4 that we've mentioned, then Arsenal, that takes us up to 5th, and then you go anyone from Newcastle, Villa, or anyone like that, they're already out of it. And to me, I don't think that they'll finish in European places as well. I just look at that game the other day, and it could have been Solskjaer, it could have been Ranić after him. I was just wondering what they were doing all pre-season. Obviously the results were coming in. They were doing so well. They beat Liverpool's 3rd team, and everybody was so happy. And they were going to get De Jong, and everything was resting on all these signings, all of these Dutch signings. And now they look like they're linked with Rabiot.
I think they're getting him within. And Archwich has fallen off.
And that, you've got to think back, when Ten Hag a couple of months ago, he can't have been thinking, you know what, I'm going to get me some Rabiot and Arnautovic by the end of this
window. The Rabiot one's really interesting because it feels like, well, it is. So they've let go the best player, Pogba, go to Juve, and Juve have gone like, you can have a third choice midfielder back. Like, yes, please.
Yeah, it's like cash converters, isn't it? I'll give you that, and you take that out. But yeah, I really don't understand it. And to me, they're in exactly the same place they were this time last year. Now, obviously, it's going to take time for Ten Hag to do his own thing, but again, I hate to do it because they're new players, but Martinez, he's still alongside Maguire. And Martinez had a bit of a tough game the other day. He could have given away a penalty. Malacia, he's quite a small defender. It doesn't mean anything, but that left hand side is then a very small but technical side of the pitch, which I think teams might play upon. It's going to be very difficult for United. So my one was going to be Everton and United, but yeah, I think United will be the biggest underachievers because I think Everton would have to go down in order for them to be bigger than United to be an underachiever this season. Moves on to relegation. I've gone for the two South Coast teams, Bournemouth and Southampton. And then I've gone for Forest. Now, the reason I've went for Forest is because it's an easy choice. I haven't seen much of them play, and it's a bit of a cop-out, if I'm honest. I don't really mean it if there's any Forest fans. It's just you were the easy choice. Southampton, on the other hand, they are an easy choice for me because they finished last season, I think they lost or didn't win in the last 7. I think they may have even lost 6 and maybe drew 1, and then obviously they've started this season with a bit of a hammering at Tottenham. So for me, it's very difficult for a team to go from one season to the next season, like when they're in such wretched form, unless there's drastic overhaul and they've not really done a great deal in the summer. So I think for me they're pretty much nailed on, and Bournemouth, they're just a yo-yo club. Again, it was an easy one. But yeah, I can't see too many. There will be others obviously dragged into it, but they're my choices. What about yourself?
Yeah, I thought Bournemouth. Even though they won, we're not taking it on the game, over the weekend. Bournemouth have bought some decent players, and if you're asking me now, I'll go Bournemouth, and I think Southampton have been on the decline for a number of years. Mm-hmm. They used to do this thing where they buy young players and really good players, and they'll play really well. Or not young players, buy players, develop them, and then they sell them on for a profit. That cycle is a very tough one to continually do all the time. Because at some point, the players that you get in are just not going to be good enough. And I think that's where they're probably at the moment. And they're not really buying anyone new as well. There seems to be, I don't know what's going on there. So I agree with you. I think Southampton, Bournemouth, and Forest, because they bought a lot of new players, it's hard to get them more bedded in. And so they bought a couple of Huddersfield lads as well. So they're not like exactly buying. And they bought Jesse Lingard. And Jesse Lingard, I don't know what he is. What is he just, is he really going to affect him? I don't know. They're just like, if you're asking me now, but I do think there's a potential for other teams to get involved. I think Everton have got a real chance of getting involved again. Yeah. Unless they get their stuff. And I think, we're probably going to have a first manager to be sacked, and I think he could be one of them to go. I think that, and Fulham again, they've done it before where they start really well, but then they just fall off. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I know they played well against us, but it's a different game, and you've got to go out and win games as well. You can't just sort of, it's interesting. I'll be interested. I thought Paulinho were really good from the centre field, man. I thought you were brilliant for him. Really, really impressed me. Mitrovic, obviously, he'll score goals. I think he just needs chances. I think, Marco Silva was absolutely right. It's like, you create chances for him, he'll score goals. So I think that's where they are with that. So they're the two I think that could potentially get involved as well. So yeah, I'd probably go with those 5. I think Leeds will be, I think Leeds will overachieve. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Next one is best transfer, the one that will work out by the end of the season. Which one do you think will work out the best? Now, you can put in Haaland if you want. It is an obvious answer, but if you do say Haaland, I want another one instead of Haaland.
No, I wasn't going to go Haaland or Nunes, although they're both absolutely brilliant. The two I'm going to go for are Sterling and Bissouma. I think Bissouma's eventually going to break into that Spurs midfield, and I think he fits perfectly the way Conte wants to play, but I think Sterling is just, I spoke earlier about when Jesus played for Arsenal, he felt like a Man City player. You watch Sterling at Chelsea, he felt like a Man City player. You could tell him they're just a cut above the rest. I mean, Chelsea are a good side. I think imagine Liverpool players would be the same. If we go drop them up into someone else, they're just a cut above them. So I think they're the two transfers that I think will, for me, end up being the best. In obviously, I could be completely wrong, but that's just how I see it early doors.
Yeah, providing he stays fit, I think Jesus. I think he'll be my main one. Seems like a bit obvious because I think he was the most chosen dream team selection ever. But yeah, you just seen like you said, the impact that he had in his first day. Providing he stays fit, I think that he'll have a massive season for Arsenal. I don't think it'll be quite enough, like you said, to speed ahead them to the top four, but I think he'll have a good season. But like you said, Sterling is another one that I've got wrote down. I would, like, a lot of Liverpool fans hate Sterling, but I kind of would have loved to have, like, he feels like he's kind of like the finished product now, regardless of whether you love or you hate him. He's brilliant at keeping the ball. And you mentioned the game for Chelsea. There was a moment where I think it was in the second half, it was a bit frantic, and he basically was running towards their centre backs, and he just thought, you know what, I'm going to check back, and he kept hold of the ball. He kind of stood on the ball and he just started walking with it. And then he just popped off a couple of passes, a couple of 1-2s, and he just slowed it right down. And I know what you mean by that Man City effect that he's had on that's had on him.
Sorry, just to jump in, the other one, and I've been thinking about this, and I think he will end up being brilliant. He is brilliant anyway. Is Koulibaly. They paid 35 million for him. He's one of the best in the world, and there's like literally not. He was just class against Everton. You know what I mean? He looked like he played there. Yeah. So I just think that he's going to be another one that's going to be absolutely up there.
Just ask your opinion as well on, is it Scamacca?
Scamacca, yeah.
Yeah, so he's tidy when he came on from against Man City, even though he didn't get the ball much.
No, he's good. I mean, he's Italy looking to get him as the number 9 because we don't have many number 9s at the moment, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. He's a bit of a throwback. I don't know for the listeners remember Luca Toni, but probably more aggressive. Luca Toni is big, he's strong, he can hold the ball up, he can score goals. He's got a good touch on him as well. I think he'll fit in absolutely fine. And I'd almost be tempted to be playing him and play Antonio from the right because he needs to be playing. There's no point sticking him on the bench. I know he had a bit of an injury and they didn't want to start him. Whether he starts in West Ham's first team, I don't know because he loves Antonio so much. That's my thing. I think give him game time and play him. He'll score more goals than Antonio because he's more of a goal scorer. Antonio, obviously, you know what I mean, he's quicker and he can, do all the pressing a bit more. He's, more almost like 2 people pressing. But Scamacca, I think, he's going to be a really good player. I mean, he's left Sassuolo. Sassuolo have got a habit of just creating and developing these players. They've got obviously Berardi still there. They've got Raspadori's another one. So Scamacca going, I thought, top signing for West Ham, that. And I'm surprised they got him that cheap.
So next one is flop of the season. Who do you think has just been signed who is not exactly going to work out?
I think Martinez at Man United. I've just seen, I mean, as a centre-half, you generally want to be 6 foot plus. There are some world-class great centre-halves of yesteryear that want 6 foot plus, but were brilliant. Fabio Cannavaro, Roberto Ayala, so just top. With him, though, he just feels like the game of what he's got a rash mistake in him, which is not what you want a centre half to do. That penalty, it was a penalty. There's no other reason for it. There's no excuse for it. That was a penalty, and I just feel like moments like that, he just doesn't understand. It's tough to come into Man United as well. It's a massive club compared to Ajax. And I just felt the game got away from him a bit on Saturday. And he's just falling into that whole buying Ajax players and just jumping on. So I don't know if I was going to stick me. I'd say him. I think he could well be the flop of the season.
Yeah, I put Man United's next signing, whoever they sign. That's what my answer is. It doesn't matter.
Arnautovic or Rabiot.
But Martinez and Malacia, I think he. I don't know whether it's delusions that they are. I'm not going to say of the level, but it's completely different league, and it's a cliche. I know it is, but like you say there, with the height of the centre back, you don't really want to go just into height because, like we said, Fabio Cannavaro was the last defender who was a Ballon d'Or winner. Was Ballon d'Or winner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but he was a defender first, whereas I feel like Martinez is very pretty on the ball. He likes to keep hold of it a little bit. He's very flash with it. And, when you put that alongside someone who's really struggling at the moment with their confidence, in particular Maguire, he's kept the captaincy, so he's going to start regardless. So it's going to be him and Martinez. I would more see Martinez as more of a holding player, and he has played there for Ajax in the past, and I thought that's what he was going to come in to do. So I was very surprised when, you come into a physical league. I just want to put a scenario in your head. Imagine they're playing Wolves away, and you've got the likes of Malacia and Martinez on that left-hand side of United. Raul Jimenez is going to eat that up all day. He's just going to go on that back post, and he's going to eat it up all day. But yeah, maybe people think that we're going against Manchester United on this one.
The other thing with the Martinez one as well is, you didn't need a centre half. You got Varane. Do you know what I mean? There's no way in a million years is Martinez better than Varane. It's just as stupid. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. And he had him on the bench for the first game. I don't quite get that.
Do you think there's a chance they're going to go 3 at the back at any point?
It'd help them. But then again, you'll need 3 in centre midfield. You're still left with the same shit in midfield, aren't you? Playing 3 at the back doesn't improve you. You don't give a magic spell to McTominay and Fred, and it's just mad because the managers, everyone can see it for a number of years, but them two still find the name on the starting lineup. I'm like, come on, we just not. Something's not right. Some things are just not right. There must be like Zidane and Makelele in training. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, last thing on Man United there, the biggest mistake that he did when he first came in, he says everyone starts afresh.
Yeah.
No, everybody's seen how rubbish they are. All the managers before have seen Scott McTominay. You've seen the touch tackle that he done at the weekend. He should have been off. That is not Man United class, and I don't understand it. But yeah, well, I think that's another for another day.
Yeah.
Player of the season.
Oh, it's a brilliant. I think Thiago.
Huh?
Yeah.
You're going to hope that he's going to be.
I think if he stays injury free, he'll end up being, because the back end of the season he was the best player in the league.
Yeah.
I'll go Thiago.
I'm Mr. Obvious today, and I'm going to go with Kevin De Bruyne. I'm going to go with Kevin De Bruyne. I'll shot him maybe Harry Kane, because I think that Spurs are going to have a big season. The reason I think Kevin De Bruyne is because he's got a forward now who can actually finish the chances that he puts on a play. Looked at his assists last season, and they were nowhere near what you tend to expect of De Bruyne. And I think obviously it was a toss-up between him and Salah last year. If they go one step further with the Champions League, then I think De Bruyne could be on for it. But yeah, again,
one player who I think's gone. There's a player that I think's getting left behind and sort of not being spoke about enough, but I think he's going to have a top season. He had a good end to the season, and he's a top player. Is Kulusevski.
Yes.
I think he's just. I think Conte's got him at a key. His goal was class. He's strong. He's such a strong runner with the ball. He's not lightning, but he's strong with the ball. It's like once he's running on the wrong side of you, you're not going to catch him, but he's strong as well. He's got a good left foot. He's tactically really smart. His positions he takes up are really clever. And he's got that relationship now with Son and Kane as well. It's not Son and Kane anymore. It's Son, Kane, Kulusevski. So the front three, they're up there with one of the best in the world.
That being said, you've actually just prompted me with something else as well. That being said, firstly, where does Richarlison fit in that? Is he a squad player?
Yeah, I think the fact that Arsenal, Spurs are in the Champions League, it'll mean he gets a lot more games anyway. I think the thing with Richarlison is it gives you that cover for Harry Kane. So when Harry Kane doesn't play, you can play Richarlison down the middle. I think Richarlison will probably play either side of, he might play for Son or might play for Kulusevski. And it just gives them that. It gives Spurs more of an attacking threat off the bench as well. The fact we've got 5 substitutions, I think people seem to be forgetting that. It's not a case of, is he going to start? It's like, well, we can make 5 substitutions. You're still going to get 30, 35 minutes. That can affect a game. So I think, and then obviously when we maybe start in the next game. So I think not long term, for this season, I think the fact he can play across all 3 positions helps him. And I think, he won't be in the starting 11. I don't see it, but I think he'll definitely be there for, games that probably not as important. Not maybe not a Champions League top ending game or a Premier League game away to Man City or something like that. But again, it gives you that. It gives you really strong cover for injuries to your top players.
Improvised question. I'm just going to throw it out there. Who's got the best top front 3/4 in the Premier League now? Obviously, Mane is gone. Bobby Firmino's taken a bit of a backseat. It was kind of undisputed that Liverpool had the best front 3/4. Right now, who would you say has the strongest?
I'd say Liverpool. Yeah, I think Salah, obviously, unbelievable. One of the best in the world. Diaz, I think he's just gonna. I think he was unlucky not to score against Thingy. I think even though he wasn't great, he was still a massive threat. And I think Darwin Núñez, once he starts, I think that'll be the front three moving forward. And then obviously Jota will be fourth, and he'll probably rotate across Diaz and Núñez, and then Firmino fifth. And I think Spurs are probably second. The one thing that pushes Man City high up is Haaland. I think if you look at it, I don't think Grealish is great. I really don't, and I'm yet to be convinced by him. He's had a season there. This season, I think it was a failure. If he has the same season last season, I think he's out the door. The fact with Phil Foden, I think he plays in. Don't know where he plays Foden. I think Mahrez from the right, and you play Grealish. And I don't know. I don't know what Man City's favoured front three is. I think there's a lot of question marks. They're obviously great players, but then I think Liverpool. I think Spurs have obviously got top front three as well, and Man City have as well, regardless of who they play. But I think for settled ones, I think it'll be ours.
And lastly, on this particular part, Golden Boot.
Salah.
I'm gonna have to change my answers.
We got exactly the same. By the way,
Salah, yeah. The reason I got Salah is I feel like people need to put respect on his name. Like, a lot of people saying Haaland just because of how he started. And my God, he started brilliantly. Well, I say finished the game brilliantly. He took him quite a while to get in. The thing with Haaland is he seems on the periphery for a long time, and it almost seems like they need to get the first goal before he starts to kick in. Where teams leaving gaps in behind. Whereas Salah is already he's the record holder. He's 32 goals. I'm not sure whether Haaland will break that this year, but don't answer that yet. I just think that Mo Salah, without obviously the World Cup, then again, Haaland doesn't have the World Cup to contend with. So it could be one of them two. But again, I think it's going to be Mo Salah.
The other one, I think, I'm captain, obviously. I think Núñez, if he gets going as well. I think if Núñez gets going as well, just how he started, even though he came on for 30 minutes in his notch, and I just think his positioning and where he gets to, brilliant. I think the Haaland was interesting because I watched that because they had a right back, a centre half. West Ham wasn't a back, you know what I mean? It just didn't feel like a West Ham then. Johnson playing it right, and if you watch the second goal when he's made them, he's like stood behind, so the line's not straight. And you look at the run, and it's like, there's so much. I said, with you dropping off, you're creating even more space for him to run into. It's an easier ball for De Bruyne to get to, and then he's giving him that much space that he can actually run around the ball to slot it in. I mean, he's obviously played against Liverpool, and he didn't really, he had that chance which he missed. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see these against first game, so we want to see what they're like. I always think you got to give them 10 games, see what it's like. You get a bit of a feel of it, don't you?
Yeah, I did actually forget about Núñez in that, but you shouldn't, with the half an hour that he's played and the Community Shield half an hour that he's played on the other one, he's got goals and he's got assists. The only thing I think is I don't think Mo's ready to give up those penalties, and the penalties will play a key part in winning that Golden Boot. So that's that particular part. Now, I just wanted to go do a quick fire question with Ty. I just wanted to rate percentages of these things, how likely that they are to happen. I think I've got around about 7 or 8 questions, and I'm just going to quickly fire through them. And you don't need to give any kind of explanation, but feel free to do so if you want to. So, first one. Erling Haaland will break the record for most goals in a Premier League season.
No.
That's not how we play it, Ty. What's the percentages of that happen?
Oh, so all right. So 100% we're doing 30%.
30%, yeah. Well, I did see that one bookmakers at the beginning of the season were offering, I think it was maybe 100 to 1 for him to break 40 goals. That can't be right, surely, because I'd have took that. There's a decent chance, but I don't think he'll do it. So, Brighton will qualify for Europe.
65%.
Wow. So that's kind of likely
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, you went to school, didn't you? Anything more than 50% is likely. Yeah, well done.
I'm just breaking it down for the kids. Arsenal will finish in the top 4.
35%.
Oh, that's less than likely, isn't it?
Thanks for explaining. Shout it louder for the kids in the back.
Newcastle will win a trophy.
49%.
Ooh, I'm not going to explain that one. Gerrard will be sacked.
55%.
Wow. Reasons?
He's had a lot of money to spend. The game against, that's a bad loss to Bournemouth to start the season.
Yeah.
They finished the season really bad as well. Yeah. There's question marks on him. Do you know what I mean? You can't get away from, we all know it's a cliche, but football management's a results business. And he needs to get more out of Coutinho. He's making big moves like passing the captaincy over to John McGinn, getting it off Mings. I just think, he's had a lot of backing, and I think that you got to start turning that backing into results and points on the board. So I think if it keeps going like this, it could be gone.
Can't mention Gerrard without Lampard. Lampard will be sacked by the end of the season.
75%.
Wow. Okay, we won't mention anything on that. Spurs will finish above Liverpool.
5%.
That's quite low. That's very low. You're very confident. And lastly, Manchester United will avoid relegation.
95%.
Oh, come on. It's got to be like 50. Come on. No, that one was just messing about on that one. But as always, this is the end of the episode. This is the end of the podcast. Ty normally has a question of the day. Have you got one for us?
I have, yeah. So we've sort of touched on it there with a couple of managers. So the question for everyone is, who do you think will be the first manager to be sacked? So let us know down below, stick it in the comments, and we always say anything that you do put down, we do reply to it, we do interact with it. So I'll ask you, Chris, before I ask, we're asking everyone else, who do you think will be the first manager to be sacked?
I'm going to go with Hasenhüttl, the Southampton manager, just because of the poor form last season. And I think, it could be a sticky start from this season. So I'm going to go with that. What about you?
I should have thought of the answer before I've asked the question. I actually think Lampard's got I think Lampard or Gerrard. I think if they keep playing as they are and keep performing as they are, I think them two. I think really go through the rest of them. I think they're pretty secure, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not a good start for them, so we'll see.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so as always, if you've been here for this long, you might as well give us a like. You might as well throw in a subscribe, and as always, comment, because Ty likes to have a little bit of a chat back and forward. So with that being said, we want to thank you for tuning in for the first episode of the new season. Again, we're going to be doing a lot more this season on the Premier League. We're going to be building up to the Champions League, Europa League, and we're also going to be looking at, obviously, the build up to the World Cup with a load of episodes coming up. So with that being said, is there anything that you want to say, Ty?
No, just good to be back. And I purchased actual Sky Sports HD from Virgin, because I don't know, you're absolutely all over it, aren't you? Did you smash it? So you used to nick all my BT Sport logins, BT Sport HD. Now he's got Sky Sports. It's like, what a life. So so I got that, but it is nice because I was watching my brother-in-law's Sky Go on his PlayStation. It's not quite HD, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit of a snob in my old age, but it just hits differently when it's crystal clear, and it's only live once.
It hits the spot, especially when it's free.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for that Netflix login, by the way.
Yeah. So just like this podcast, which is free, again, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. See you later, guys.
See you guys. Bye.